Welcome to This Explainer. You know, we always think of our homes as our ultimate safe havens, right? The one place you can lock the doors, shut the blinds, and just block out the rest of the world. But what happens when the threat isn't just lurking outside, but seems to know exactly what's going on inside? Today, we're totally unpacking a chilling real-life mystery that turned a family's absolute dream home into a literal psychological nightmare. We're breaking down the deeply unsettling case of the Watcher of Westfield. So picture this. You've just moved your family into a pristine, gorgeous new house. You're finally unpacking those annoying moving boxes, getting settled into your new life, only to check the mail and find a deeply disturbing letter. And guys, this was not a friendly welcome to the neighborhood card. It was a menacing message signed by a total stranger using a ridiculously ominous name, The Watcher. I mean, just hearing those two words, it completely flips the vibe from suburban bliss to absolute dread. Section 1. The Westfield Dream Home. The really jarring dichotomy of this case is just terrifying. On one hand, you have what the family thought they were getting, this perfect, very expensive suburban house tucked away in a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. The absolute ideal, right? But that peace violently clashes with a dark new reality forced onto them by this unseen stalker. Suddenly, their lives were defined by disturbing, impossible-to-know details and the horrifying realization that they were being constantly monitored. Okay, let's rewind to 2014. That's when the family first purchased this supposedly perfect property in Westfield. Put yourself in their shoes for a second. Buying a home like this, that's usually the culmination of years of hard work. It's supposed to be a massive milestone of joy and success. They had absolutely no idea that instead of living the dream, they were stepping directly into the crosshairs of someone's twisted obsession. Section 2. Entered the Watcher. The psychological weight of this very first letter was just immense. The author wasn't just saying, "Hey, I'm looking at your house right now." No, they claimed the property had been watched for decades and that the new family was now being monitored too. Now, when that letter arrived, the family understandably tried to dismiss it. They were desperately hoping it was just a sick prank, maybe some local kids trying to haze the new neighbors, because honestly, it's human nature to try and rationalize something that terrifying. But yeah, that illusion of a simple prank evaporated incredibly fast. This wasn't some generic mass mailer sent to a random address. The stalker knew intimate, terrifying details that should have been totally impossible for a random outsider to know. We're talking about the names of the children, and even creepier, exactly where those kids were spending their time inside the house. Just sit with the implications of that for a second. To know the interior movements of a family means the level of surveillance was incredibly, deeply invasive. Section 3. A dark escalation. The family's descent from new home joy to absolute terror happened so fast. I mean, the initial excitement of moving in was completely derailed just days later by that first letter. But it didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, the messages got darker and far more threatening. The harassment ramped up so quickly that it pushed the family to an absolute breaking point. It got so bad they actually refused to fully move in and live their lives in the very home they had just bought. And here is where the messages escalated into something unbelievably dark and directly threatening. The Watcher started claiming ownership, literally stating the house belonged to them. Then they explicitly demanded young blood. Yeah, young blood. And perhaps the most unsettling thing of all, they specifically asked why the children had not started playing in the basement yet. This wasn't just a neighborhood busybody watching the front door. This was a stalker fixated on the most vulnerable members of the family, trying to dictate their movements inside their own home. Section 4. The Search for Answers. Terrified for their lives, and obviously for the safety of their kids, the family didn't just take this lying down. They went all in, pursuing multiple intense angles to unmask this stalker. First step, they contacted the local police. Then they paid out of pocket to hire private investigators to dig even deeper. They cast a huge net, questioning the very neighbors they had hoped to befriend and even tracking down the former owners. But so frustratingly, despite all of this, nobody could figure out who was actually sending these letters. Every single lead just hit a brick wall. And those dead ends led to some increasingly desperate and, frankly, horrifying theories. Like, could the Watcher actually be living inside the walls of the house itself? The fact that this stranger knew exactly what was happening inside forced the investigators to genuinely consider this terrifying possibility. Talk about adding a whole new level of dread to the property.
Imagine standing in your own living room wondering if the person threatening your kids is literally mere inches away, hidden right there in the architecture. No way!
Section 5. An unsolved mystery. Ultimately, the psychological fallout totally broke the family. They became way too afraid to ever properly move in and live in peace, so they were forced to try and sell this dream property they had literally just bought. But by then, the terrifying story had leaked. It spread across America like wildfire and became a massive national sensation. This wasn't just some quiet local dispute anymore, it was a famous house of horrors, which, as you can guess, made selling it a completely different kind of nightmare. And the craziest part? To this very day, the case remains totally unsolved. The police, the private investigators, the intense national scrutiny, none of it was enough to unmask the author of those letters. It leaves us with two incredibly chilling questions. Who was the watcher? And why did they become so deeply, dangerously obsessed with this one ordinary house in Westfield? It's a mystery with absolutely zero closure, leaving all of us to wonder, when we close our own blinds at night, who might be watching us?